Hi there, it's Brian Sebastian, Movie Reviews and More, the Women's Broadcast TV Network, I2247, and WomenOnTV.tv. And let's go back to Tennessee. So last year, we got women from Tennessee on. They were at the SWIFT panel, always going to Southern Women in Film and Television in Nashville, Tennessee. So it's always good to see my friends, Morelia, and it's always good to see Jessica. But give the audience what your last names are. Morelia, you start first because you always make me laugh.
Well, my name is Morelia Cuevas, and I'm from California originally, but I've been in Nashville for about 25 years.
And Jessica?
I'm Jessica Heim, and I'm also I'm Tennessee native, born and raised in Manchester, and then I moved on to Nashville, and then in 2012 I moved away, went to New York City, but now I'm back right now, so I'm a Tennessee gal again. But you know what they say, you can take the girl out the South, but you can't take the South out of the girl, so that's me.
Yeah, I hear that's true too. All right, Morelia, let's start with you. What have you been doing? What have you been up to? And what have you been creating? And how's your dad?
Oh, my dad's great. It's been crazy, with this whole COVID-19 and the close down and everything. But what has kept me busy, believe it or not, give me a second, are masks.
How many
made full-on Manuel Masks. I've been keeping myself busy during the quarantine. What can I tell you?
Hey, I mean, people are going to need them, so I'll get another selling piece for you guys, right?
Yes, but they've been fun. They're like, especially the ones that have purchased them. I mean, my dad, first and foremost, was making them during the whole time when the town was shut down. And he was just giving them away towards tons of people and all the different, people on the front line. And then he sends them out to different states and so forth. But then it's got to the point where, we have clients that and people who can, buy something that is less expensive, let's just put it that way, because, our stuff is in the high numbers. But, and it's been fun, and it's actually makes you feel social, especially I know myself being a social butterfly, can't really be doing the things that I'm normally doing. It becomes a topic at the market now. It's kind of fun. People look at my masks. I have a different one each day of the week.
Yeah, but here's the thing. We're going to need them. And We're going to need not just 10. We're going to need 50, 100, because how many can you wear in one day if you don't go out? What happens? How many can you wear if you do go out?
Well, the great thing is these are washable first and foremost. So, they're worn for some sort of protection, but I'm not going to deny they are a fashionable kind of fun statement. But the great thing they are washable, and you can wear them multiple times. Of course, probably that most people have or given are only to wear for a couple of hours. So, and on a part-time level, when I'm not doing all my creative gigs, I have to go to a job, and I won't have to go back yet. But when I do, I'm going to have to wear a mask, and I'm going to have to wear a mask, when I'm serving someone a cocktail, and it's hard because I'm very, I'm smiling all the time, I'm talking, so it's going to be very interesting for me with this thing on my face, and trying to forget that I'm communicating with someone. I mean, just the other day I had to put gas in my car, so I have my glove on and my mask. I feel like I'm Michael Jackson for 5 minutes. I'm pumping the gas.
Hey, Michael Jackson was way ahead of us, wasn't he?
I know, he was the bomb, let me tell you. And when I'm doing that, and then you got a guy next to the other one, he's just looking at you, and I'm smiling. And I had mentioned something. I went to see my dad to go ahead and get some more of the masks to deliver them. And I said, I was smiling at him. I go, I hope he knew I smiled back. And then I forgot. Now we're all smiling with our eyes, not because this is all covered up. So it feels kind of weird a little bit. But, I stayed quarantined for, the majority of the time. I mean, the only place I've gone is technically the markets. I have to say markets because nobody doesn't have everything. And I've had to go into the studio and apply some rhinestones. And I've been getting orders out to people and to the post office. I mean, that's about my social ability. That's
Hey,
hard.
Morelia, you look pretty too. You look good.
Oh, thank you.
You do. And also, I apologize. My internet is in and out, and it froze right after you said, wait for it. And then I really did have to wait for it. So could I see what you displayed earlier? I missed all of it.
Three different ones, but hang on.
So now she's probably going to show you 10 different ones.
Yeah, well, this one's just for fun.
How cute.
That's cute. I like that. It's really good.
I always have my lips on, so it feels really weird that I cover that part. And then, of course, you know, I have some very decorative ones. This one's actually out for a client. It has a mermaid on it.
Ooh, one of my former roommates in New York City who still lives there, she loves mermaids. She would love that.
And then, of course, there's sometimes the...
Jessica, tell her to reach out to Morelia afterwards.
Now that it's legal.
I will, absolutely.
Marijuana.
Oh, there we go. There we go.
I want, you got to make one that says movie reviews and more on it for me.
I can do that. I can just, you know what, email me the logo so I can do it, you know. And
Jessica, tell Morelia what you do, because you guys might have run into each other on a campus at Lipscomb University last year. But
we probably did. Yeah, because the hallways were pretty packed in between those workshops and seminars, so I'm sure we did cross paths. But yeah, side note, I'm gonna request a mask with music notes on it because I'm a vocalist first and foremost, so I will.
Those are the fun ones. I mean, and that's what's so great, the people who've been able to wear them. I have a friend right now, and she's working at Kroger, and I had given her a real decorative one, and there were a couple of people, they're feeling down with all the craziness, and literally thanked her for helping. And then they looked over and noticed, I mean, my father does kind of have a relatively signature, so, and they noticed the signature mask, and she said that made her day. And the funny thing is, my friend looks like Taylor Swift, so she's all covered up, and all you do is see her eyes. And so it's become quite a blast on the internet now. So maybe Taylor Swift will end up with a mask next. Is that what you
never know.
Yeah, well, with the people you hang out with, it probably was.
Oh, that could probably happen.
Jessica, tell us who you are and where we came from, what you're doing.
Alrighty, well, like I said, I'm Jess, and just Jess, if you want to call me that. And I'm an entertainer, performer, singer. I started performing on cruise ships professionally in 2008. Prior to that, I was doing live theater in Nashville at the former Boiler Room Theater, if you remember that. Rest in peace. I miss that place so much, but we've got some great new places now. And that's kind of been my thing for several years. And then when not performing on ships, I do entertainment on land. I've toured with Sesame Street Live, and if I wasn't the only live human character on stage, I performed as Ernie. And let me just tell you, his shoes are very heavy, and I think his shoes were 5 pounds a piece. And I remember watching a video after, I guess it was my first show with him, and I was living. I mean, it's so hot, you can't breathe, you can't see. It's a very interesting. I'm so thankful that I did it and had the experience, because it's just, you just don't get it until you are in the Muppet.
I am going to have to say something, because I always have a full appreciation for anyone who has to wear a costume. Now, I have done this for a living, where I've had to be covered, or also I've been with my full face naturally. I used to dress up as Mae West at an amusement park back in the day. But I have done it where you're an actual character. And I always have the world's greatest respect, because when people tell you've done it, no one else doesn't understand. And I understand. It might surprise people with some of the things I've done, but that is something.
Hey, I didn't know you did that one. So
yes, I did. I've been a variety of characters.
Well, you're a character to begin with.
Well, yeah, I am, yes, but always the one sometimes. But my favorite part though was actually, I know it's harder when you have the actual mask on, but my funnest part was I got to use my actual face, but I had, you know, the whole get up. Being Mae West was probably one of my funnest and greatest times. I used to always
What was
say,
that for?
I I did it at Universal Studios back in the day out in Hollywood, and it was a lot of fun. I got attacked every half hour by 300 Japanese men with cameras, but you know, it was always like fun with the boa. You know, you got to totally. I mean, and if anyone who truly knows me, I'm a lot like her, really. You know, I've always been that kind of ballsy, you know, in your face, kind of fun, you know. I'm definitely not shy. So, you know, I had fun with that, and I always enjoyed it. It was one of my fun, you know, moments of things that I've done. To say it least.
I actually auditioned for Universal last year, and I was on the short list, and it was down to just a few of us, and it turned out unfortunately I didn't get it this time around, but I'm not giving up. But
Yeah,
you know,
never do. Usually it's like certain heights for the characters, you know, you're either certain feet higher or lower, whatever. But my first ever like crazy job like that was being an Easter bunny. And I actually, that was the only thing I ever got. I was an Easter bunny.
Morelia, now I've heard everything. Yeah, I don't see you as the Easter Bunny.
No, me either. I would see myself more like a Playboy bunny if I had the opportunity. But
that is awesome.
I'm not gonna lie. Brian's all like, I figured.
So Jessica, so Morelia was on one of our shows when we went to Jimmy's. So her show, we're at 213,000 views and still counting.
And what was so
Nice.
funny,
Congrats.
a friend of mine says, "Oh, will you go?" And I go, "Yeah, well, I know who Brian is," and says, "I want you to go." And so we went. I didn't know where we were going, and when we got there, I'm all like, "Oh, Jimmy! Oh God, I've known Jimmy for 100 years." So it was kind of fun. Like everybody, it was like a reunion. Yeah, totally.
Awesome.
Yeah. So, Jessica, have you heard from any of your friends who might still be on a cruise or coming off? What's the reactions of everything?
All of the people that I know have either performed with or just know through mutual friends, because at some point, if you're in the industry long enough, you will constantly crisscross with castmates. You know, this castmate, or you see people during rehearsal, because there will be 6 ships rehearsing at the same time. So all of those people that I know personally have made it home, thankfully. But there are still a few cast members that are still out there, and they've been so positive. There's a Facebook page where members, singers and dancers and members of that community will post and kind of encourage, and they've done an amazing job. There are still people that are stuck at the rehearsal space in Florida. And they did a gorgeous video of them dancing, and there some specialty acts. There was a balancer, you know, I could tell that he was at the place that we actually stay, where they house us, and he was just kind of out on one of the sun decks balancing on some sticks, and then you had the bike riders, and then you had dancers. And so they're the ones out on the ship, my heart goes out to them, because they're just stuck and there's nothing to do. All of the main venues are closed. They're allowed to kind of walk around, but they can't actually go and hang out in any kind of place that would be considered a common area. They've been staying in their guest rooms. Thankfully, they've had guest rooms, so they have the opportunity to go out and get fresh air. They're fed meals 3 times a day. They were getting their temperatures checked twice a day. Everything was happening at their room. And then, like I said, they were allowed to walk around. So everybody is staying as positive as they can under the circumstances. And my prayers and thoughts go out to them. And I'm just thankful for those that were able to get home have.
And tell Morelia how you got home, because you just made it back yourself.
Oh man, that was a whole other thing. So I was in Czech Republic, and I had performed in a couple of concerts there. One was a big band, another one was a local band that I did a duet with one of the singers in the band. And unbeknownst to me, I just booked a flight home whenever it seemed appropriate, only to find out that I flew out the day of or the day before Trump was going to stop flights being received into the States.
Wow.
And then whatever airport I connected through, I found out through the news that the day after I connected through said airport, it shut down, or it dramatically cut all of its flights. I flew from there to New York City, and again, I was there for 3 days. And the day after I flew out from there, they shut down. They started shutting down everything. I think I was in a restaurant, the last day that people were allowed to go into restaurants in New York City, and then made it to Nashville, and I hadn't gone anywhere since after I made it home. But it was very surreal, and it didn't seem like real life. People were very quiet and very calm the whole way home. And it was, I mean, I hate to say this, but it was abnormally nice. Like, everyone was cheerful and just respectful of each other, because I think there was so much confusion as to what was happening and what was developing, because I was aware of it, and I'd stayed abreast of everything as best I could from Europe, but news changes and the stats change, and I think this is that was the general consensus, was what's going on. But we don't know what to do to freak out, so we're not going to freak out. We're just going to kind of look around and be, kind of just be as cordial as possible. So it's a very, very eye-opening experience, and just thankful to have made it home safely without carrying anything or catching anything. And both of my parents are older, and so I've been I could never forgive myself if I accidentally gave them something, if I were perhaps a vector or whatever. And so far so good. So
I can get that totally. I mean, I know that later on last year, I was very sick. Sometimes I do believe there might have been a time I might have had some formation of the virus, because I had a very strong viral virus situation, and I was trying to get better each and every time before the beginning of the year. And I had some friends also that I know that traveled after that time, before it even became more known of, into the new year, where they're making more progress with it in the States. But it definitely, I mean, I kind of have an understanding of this quarantine, and one aspect of it, because I do have a moment in my life where I'm really amongst myself. I live alone, and so I'm not having or have anyone here with me except my little puppy, which right now he's probably mad. He's outside barking. He might do a cameo in a minute. I don't know if he doesn't want to stop barking. But I really hope that some people, I hate to say with this happening, I think it's going to be a real realism to a lot of people that probably needed it. And I'm so, even with me saying that, because I understand that formation have had to be in a quarantine, that's sometimes not by choice. And I've been in a situation like that once in my life. So I kind of have an idea. And so I was kind of, I would say, more prepared on that sense mentally for it. It does get hard. It is struggling sometimes to deal with such a thing like this, when you're alone. And my main concern is how everyone's feeling more or less emotionally, going through this, because I know it's so difficult. That's why I put myself a lot of humor into the masks, because I wanted it to be fun. I mean, under the circumstances, what we're dealing with, obviously,
Sure.
I mean, I know some things are changing. Like out where I am, some of the things are opening slowly in phases. The more you go into the city, as you know, in Nashville, they're still not officially open. I mean, some of the restaurants are slowly, bars and us getting our hair done is, not happening just yet. I know it sounds vain, but I do beg for a pedicure.
No, a lot of women are wanting all of those things, though. That's what makes a woman feel good. We had a show about 2 months
And
ago.
also to get up and want to get dressed has also been hard. Believe me, I know there's a few days I'm like, I need to, at least put some makeup on, or do whatever to, feel like the next day. I mean, I've been watching posts. I have friends like with her cute little daughters getting dressed every day, and I'm all like, good Lord, she's got better outfits throughout the day than I've put on. I go, normally I'm like that when I can be social. I'm all like, I can, I don't want to get too used to the leggings if you are the stretch pants,
Well,
like
it's funny
Not
because
wearing
I did a show not too long ago, and she makes lingerie and underwear for women. And she said it, and the other two co-hosts were women. One was Terry, and somebody else said, no matter what, women still want to feel sexy, even if they're fine by themselves. As long as they have great lingerie, they're okay. And I go, that's true. I never thought about that.
No, that's true. I mean, it's part of being a woman. You've got to feel confident. To me, that's something that, and it's so funny you brought that up. I had this conversation with a girlfriend of mine, just chit chat and talking girl talk, and I used to always get so frustrated because I was saying that, I've been the big girl where I always say that you have a skinny girl in you, and I've been the super skinny girl where there's always a big girl in you. And I'm in my life where I'm so content. I'm in the middle, mentally, physically, I'm totally connected to myself. And as a woman who's about to be 52 years old. So to me, I mean, that's huge, and I only wish that most women can feel the way that I do. But the reason why this has something in relevance to what you said, I said, I always get frustrated when I see a girl that I know that looks like, when you're buying it in the ad, because I know it doesn't always look that way once you put it on. And I said, I get frustrated because I said, I don't want to hear someone complain about it, but I go, I love that because when I buy it for myself, it just makes me feel, I'm a woman. I'm very womanly. There's no doubt about that. I mean, I am girly girl. Believe me, when I moved in here out in the country, my neighbor was very concerned when I was moving in. I mean, welcome to the Beverly Hills hillbilly over here. She saw boa stilettos going out in my car. I was carrying clothes in before the movers came the next day. I literally moved in 2 days prior with some things I moved on my own. I let the movers come in with all the big stuff, And so my neighbor looks out and, it's like, more like what or whom is moving into the neighborhood. All these rhinestone things are flying out. I'm dragging stuff in. She's all like, are you sure you're going to be wearing that out here? So I know.
Yes, the answer is yes.
Yes. I'm not, obviously.
So Jessica, your answer would be what?
What? To what she just said? You're talking to someone who has moved more times than I can count. Even when I was in college, I always lived on campus, and you can't stay on unless you're taking classes and have paid and blah, blah, blah. You don't, for the most part, I don't know how things have changed now. It's been a while. But then I would, carry everything back and forth from Manchester to Murfreesboro every year. And I was that person who had tons of totes. Every little amount of space, I utilized it somehow. Do you guys remember those like the flat square Sterilite totes, the little plastic bins? Because those were the best. They fit everywhere the best, and they were stackable. So I had, I don't know, 6 of those, and I crammed them in everywhere I could. And probably the funniest, I can't believe I'm going to tell you this. So there was one year that we were doing a little caravan. I was in a car with my mother, and then my father was driving the truck, and we had everything packed. You would have no idea that I was just moving into a dorm room. You would think I was moving into like an apartment by myself, but no. And we did not secure one of the lids to one of those totes that it was in the back of the truck. And speaking of lingerie, it just so happened to conveniently be my underwear collection. And so the lid flew off, and underwear was flying through the air, hitting our windshield on the interstate. True story. So then we had to pull on the side of the road and try to retrieve socks and underwear and bras and everything else. It was a whole thing. So you know, if people are nosy and want to see what you're moving in with, fine. Let them be entertained. This is my stuff. This is what makes me happy. Moving on, you know.
So what did your father say when he was collecting underwear after?
Oh, yeah.
Nothing. He's used to it. He's used to my mother and me. I'm an only kid, and so it's just been dad and the girls. So he gets it.
That's funny.
He didn't phase him at all.
Life of the costumes, you know.
Exactly.
I was brought up that way. I mean, not only were my family making, you know, outfits and costumes for everyone and anyone in the entertainment industry, but it was kind of customary. I mean, growing up, we had like a trunk. And, you know, it's always been a private joke about the infamous trunk, you know, ooh, what's in the trunk, you know, but in all reality, all growing up as a child, my mom had one in the house where we'd pop out, there'd be costumes and, you know, like you'd watch Grease and then afterwards you put the soundtrack on, you know, and you're all acting it out, you know. I mean, that was a big thing in my home when I was growing up as a kid. So I always have a house load full of costumes somewhere, you know. Never know.
You never know when you're going to need them. I'm that person that will hang on to everything just in case, because that one time that you take it and decide to take it to Goodwill is, you know,
you
when
regret it. You always you forget that one thing. Why did I give it up?
Yeah, exactly. So true. So true.
Hey, when it comes to Jessica, what's the first thing that you would do when it comes to knowing that it's safe for you to go out and do something? Do you want to go to a restaurant? Do you want to go get a burger? Or do you want to go shopping, or what is it?
Wow. I think at the moment that I feel comfortable just being able to go to a coffee shop and just sit and not have or a restaurant. I love food. I love food and beverage. So just being able to go and meet up with people and hang out and not have to think. And I think this is going to become. This is just going to have to. It's going to be how it's going to be, where you have to think about where you sit, where you put your hands, if it's wiped off. And unfortunately, I was kind of already on that borderline anyway, being a little OCD with cleaning things. But now I think that that's what I'm looking forward to, but I'm not looking forward to still being concerned, even though it might be okay, that I'm going to have to wipe everything down and protect myself. And that's, that's what I want to do. But I know that's going to be floating in the back of my head. Is everything okay? And then it's not just about what you can get, but then also making sure that you're good to go too, so that you're not potentially harming someone else later.
Morelia, you talk about that on your end, and then also get into your dad's film too. We got about 5 minutes.
Sure. Well, you know, the whole social distancing is very difficult, and this month is my birthday month. So, you know, and I'm always known to have a big birthday party. So, you know, I don't know what's going to happen for my birthday this year, or even if there's going to be a restaurant to go to, you know. I would like to be able to go somewhere, but that's not really all that important. If I can, maybe have, you know, I'm more used to having a huge gathering, but even if I could get 10 friends that are willing to get into the social distancing, now that we're allowed to be more out, kind of more where we are now.
Are you talking about maybe 1,000 people like at your dad's place?
Oh, yeah, no. I'm trying to sum it down to 10. I'm trying.
Word will get out and they'll all be at your house.
Well, I might still have to have a virtual birthday party for all I know. I mean, this is going to be new for me. I've never done this before. But otherwise, I mean, on the vain side, if I had to go somewhere just to be vain, would be a pedicure. I'm not going to lie. But overall, to be honest, it's just more I would love to be able to see certain people that I haven't been able to see. That's been hard on me because, you know, and I do have a tight niche of close friends that I'm missing that I don't get to see often. And I mean, the only semi-social I've been is literally going to pick up and work on these masks for like maybe 2 hours once a week and putting in some time and going to the post office and coming back home. And within that time, I've tried to use a little socialism with my mask on and, you know, just to chat while to go into, it just feels good to go somewhere. But
Yeah.
On that note, and you were asking about the documentary. Yeah, my dad they did. Yuri and Josh are two guys that went ahead and did this documentary on my dad. It's very interesting. I don't know the next step of where they are with it, but they did take it. It was seen here in Nashville, and then they took it to Josh's hometown in Georgia. I think they're still trying to get some, show on it for them, for the film, maybe some type of institute or something for them to get some honoring of it. But what's interesting, the main person who worked on it is a guy who was born in the same town as my father. So he was really interested in wanting to do something and be this director, film guy, and he followed my dad for years. The joke is to my dad, sometimes I didn't even remember there was a camera there. So that was kind of cool. They really captured him as just more of him as the person. There's some other projects out there that are trying to develop on the main picture of him in his whole life and his clients. That's a whole different thing. That's not what that documentary is about. But I still have to get them to talk to you, Brian.
And what's it called?
Which one?
What's the documentary called?
Oh, it's called Manuel. The documentary is what they have it as the one that they did. Which is on more his personal, his life, just kind of him as the man, and it's kind of interesting. I mean, but and then there's other people working on the BBC, for instance. They've been filming for years. They're not done yet, but they've always come every so often, like once or every 2 years they come and they try to get a couple of clients and then they film us all the time. So they've been working on a piece for some time. So that one will be interesting because they're talking to a lot of our high-end clients over the years. It's a very interesting life, every day I always say what my norm is not maybe everybody else's norm. So that's
very, very true.
It is. No, but it's hard. I mean, some people think my life is like, this my norm is so different than most. I mean, I could say this, and I could probably say this pretty quick. I was in a bar this many years ago, and I always laugh about this incident when I tell this story. But this guy was talking to me. We're all, everybody's drinking, so it's kind of 9 sheets to the wind, whatever the saying is, and he goes on and on talking about the good old days, and he's going on, and he's talking about, when your grandfather takes you to the nitties to go and sit in a knitting mobile, because you know who I'm talking about. And I'm all like, I'm feeling really stupid at this moment because he's talking about my grandfather. So I had to interrupt him, and I said, yes. I go, of course I know. And I'm going on talking to this guy, and I'm telling him about a story about me and Clint Eastwood, and also meeting Robert Redford when they came into the store. Well, this guy was a principal actor at the time on one of the Robert Redford films. And I was telling him the story, and he's all like, God, he barely talks to me. And he goes, he talked to you as a kid? And I go, yes. And I'm telling him the whole story. And he's just like totally freaked out. And I have to remind you, we were drinking quite a bit. He picks up his cell phone and he goes, let me call Bobby. Like, okay, fine. It was the most sobering conversation I had for like 2 minutes talking to him on the phone.
That's funny. All right, Jessica, give your social media links real quick.
Like that happened. Rhinestone Heiress is my Instagram, and I'm also Rhinestone Heiress and Morelia Cuevas on Facebook, and I'm Rhinestone Air on Twitter.
And Jessica?
Just Jessica Heim, first and last name, Heim on Facebook, and all lowercase Jessica Heim 7 on Instagram.
And I'm Brian Sebastian, Movie Reviews and More on YouTube, Movie Reviews, the letter N more, Movie Reviews and More on YouTube, IT247, Women on TV.tv, and the Women's Broadcast TV Network. And I want to thank you, women from Tennessee. See how funny they are?
Yeah.
And then when we go down there, we're gonna all get together. Hopefully, maybe October. We'll see how everything goes.
Tennessee's not bad. Come on, come to Tennessee.
It's not.